So our next topic is series. So now in this series, we are going to talk about what are the different types of the series, how the series are used, and then what is this? There are some expressions behind the series. Then what are the different properties? So we'll try to understand the theoretical part first. Then we'll jump to the actual demonstration part where we will create one series, load the data, and then we'll see in the workbench. So this is our overall agenda. We'll talk. So first part is morely about the theory, and remaining part is about the demo. Let's try to understand what is meant by series. Okay, series, these are displayed in the worksheet graphs at any aggregation level. So you will have the series which shows the data at the business group level. It might show at the organization level. So you can have that kind of. So it does the aggregation, it does the proportion as well. In the daemon thread, we see the data at the aggregated level in the series, and sometimes it is at the lowest level as well. So the question comes, at what level daemon thread stores the value? So the daemon thread stores the value at the lowest possible level. So if it is at the lowest possible level, then it does the aggregation when you want to see at the aggregated level. And then okay, and the further, if the value of the series is changed, like you're opening the worksheet, okay, and there are the 5 series. Out of the 5 series, you have changed only one series value or one cell value, one specific cell. Then once you say save, then it will save the value for that changed record only. It is not going to save whole your worksheet. So wherever it is changed, that much values will be stored. If it is a null only, if it is a null, like for example, it was some 100 quantity, now you made this as a null, then it will be stored. Okay, and on top of that, there was already null value. Okay, and then it is not again going to save this null value. So it will be a null value. Whatever the figures are changed, that much only will be stored in the database. Otherwise, the rest of the series will be unchanged. So these are the some properties. So the some series can be editable, some series may not. Then the series data type might be number, string, or date. We can have any kind of data type that we can show in the series. And then series pull the data from the sales table. That is a combination with the specific sales date, or it can be pulled from the custom table. So anything is possible, like if we can pull the data from the sales table or from the level table or some custom table. It's like the way you configure your series, accordingly it will pull the data. Okay, so the series data can be stored or cannot be stored. This is what we have seen. So the series data can be aggregated. It also does the proportion. So for example, as we understood right now, that the series value will be stored at the lowest level. So when you aggregate the data at the business group level, then aggregation will be done. And at that aggregated level, if somebody make the changes, then it has to be stored in the lowest level. So it will proportionate that particular number to the lowest level. So it does the aggregation, it does the proportion. And there are various types of the series, like a sales series, matrix series, promotion series, level series. So depending on where we are storing this value, the series types. So this type of the series sometimes it is called sales series, matrix series. If we are storing the value in the sales data, then it's sales. If we are storing the value in the MDP matrix, then it's a matrix. So depending on the where are we storing, what is the table, accordingly that type of the series is named. Now we can have the security, like some series value should be shown to one of the user. Like if it is a profit, that profit series will be shown to the finance controller or some directors. It will not shown to the demand scheduler. So that security can be applied. And then we can have a drop down capability. It's not like in the series we'll have only numbers. we can have some drop down options as well, and the series will have some expressions. So these expressions will do this aggregation and proportion. So there are various types of expressions like client expressions, server expressions, edit log expressions, color expressions. So these are the various types of the expressions that are used on the series. So we'll see all these expressions. And what is the purpose of the series? We use this series when we are importing a data, exporting a data, and as well as we'll use this series in exceptions. If you recollect worksheet designer, in the worksheet we select the series name for exception. So there we'll use that series. Then the series definition, the series definition is stored in the computed field. So it's a definition table. It's not something a data table, it's a definition table. And again, this is the exam question. And now these are the types of the series. So sales data series. So these data, this is the sales series. So it is specific to your time, item and location. Right. So it's a time dependent data of item and location. So then the matrix series. So it does. It's like it's having a data specific to item and location, and that is not depend on the time. So there is no column for time in MDP matrix. So it's a time independent data. So it's a combination series or matrix series. And the promotion series also, if the series data is stored in the promotion table. So like sales data, there is another one table for promotions. So if we store the data in the promotions table, then it's a promotion series. And the level series, if we are storing the value in the level table, like item level. So if we are pulling something from the item level, then that particular become the level series, and that corresponding data goes to that level table only. Okay, then update field. So this is a very important term. So what is meant by update field? Update field is nothing but it's a database column name where the series value is stored. So whenever somebody does the update, that update value or that particular record goes to this column. So that's the update field. So if the series is editable, then we need that field. If series is not editable, we can keep this field as empty, as a null. Okay, now let's talk about forecast series. Now Demantra generates the forecast. A Demantra engine generates the forecast. Now that forecast is stored in one of the series. Okay, now that series like a baseline or baseline forecast, then override, forecast override. So these are the series. So that baseline forecast, so that particular forecast series will be, that series is pulling the data from these table. FORE 0, underscore 0, FORE 1, FORE 2, FORE 3. So depending on, so there will be multiple column like this. So when you run the Demantra engine, the forecast goes to 40 to this column. When you run the next time, then 40 data will be archived and moved to the 41, and the new forecast will be in the 40. So again, if you run the next time, then again it moves, latest forecast will be in the 41, and the recent forecast or the one period back forecast will be in 41. So data will be archived. So this is the way it does the archiving of the forecast, and then it will keep recent forecast in this 40. So there is one parameter. I will give that parameter. I forget to mention here. So there is one engine parameter. So depending on that engine parameter, it uses number of these 4 columns. Like sometime you want to do the comparison of last 4 period, then you can have the 4 column, like 40, 41, 42, 43. These will be a 4 column. If you want to do the forecast comparison for the 6 month, then you can have this parameter as a 6. So depending on the analysis that you want to do, you can have this value and then the demantra recycle these columns accordingly. Let's talk about aggregation and the proportion. Okay, so now when we need proportion, so we need a proportion when data is imported at the higher level. Like we are importing data itself at the organization level. It's not at the SKU level. It's not at the lowest level. Okay. Or if you are importing the data at the specific item category level. So in that case, we are importing the data at the aggregated level, we have to proportion it. So this is the reason. Then when the user is updating the forecast value or the series value at the aggregated level, like some users is updating the value at the organization level or the operating unit level, and it has to aggregate at the organization and item level. So at that time we need a proportion. Or demantra itself generates the forecast at the aggregated level. Why it generates the aggregated level? The reason is there is no sufficient data point. Then it aggregates the data as per a forecast tree, and then once the aggregated forecast is generated, it has to proportion it. So at that time it does that. So at that time we have to do proportion. Okay. So this is the one of the proportion example. How the proportion work. So we are having this is the sales data. So these are the series name is sales. Okay, and then these are the item. You can say ABCD. So these are the 4 items, and 4 item is having one category which is called ABCD. Okay, so item level forecast or history is 10, 20, 30, 40. So altogether is 100. At this, when I see that aggregated level at the this ABCD category level, it shows me 100. When I say individual level, it shows me this breakup. Now, user updates the value from 100 to 350. Then what will happen? So it aggregates the data. So this is the old data. So it determines the proportion, like what is the total value for this aggregation. So total value of aggregation is 100. So 10 divided by 100. So this is the proportion for this A item. Okay. So multiplied by 350. So it gives, okay. So it gives the distribution as a 35. So the 35, 70, 105, 104. So this is the way it determines the aggregation. So at what level you are aggregating, so depending on that, it determines the proportion, and for accordingly it distribute the values. So this is the way to proportion these numbers. Okay. Another important thing. So the proportion is only happen when the series is a proportional. So sometimes you don't want to proportionate the data. Like you want to show. For example, average. Okay. So now, not average. Let's take an example of average only. Yes. So now here, average of all these numbers is, for example, somewhere around 18, right? So average is coming 18. So you are updating 18, right? So it will ensure that instead of 18, so it will it will distribute value in such a way that your figures, your average should be 18. Or sometimes you want to see maximum value. Like out of these 4, show me what is the maximum. So maximum is a 40. Maximum, minimum. So these are the if you want to see this kind of data, then that series itself is a non-proportional. So if the series is not a proportional, okay, but we are doing aggregation. So we are aggregating a data while showing it does the aggregation, but but it's not doing a proportion. Then what will happen? Whatever the value you entered, so that value becomes the value for all your child members. So the parent value or the aggregated value is equal to the value of individual child members. So now, okay, assume that this is our series. Now we are doing aggregation, but that series is not proportional. Now we made a 350. So that 350 value goes to each of this item. So here 350, these 350, these 350, these 350. Now next time when you open this worksheet, now again it does the aggregation. So 350 multiplied by 3, so that number will be shown. So it's like a kind of a data corruption or data mismatch. Now we have seen about the now the next topic is about the proportion. Aggregation. So what is meant by aggregation? That we have already touched base. So when we need aggregation, when user want to see the data at the aggregated level, like operating unit level or MTO category level, when data need to be exported at the aggregated level, like if you want to export the numbers, like financial numbers for each plant or each product category, then you do aggregation. You will not go at the SKU level. So at that time we'll use, or sometimes engine does the aggregation that we have seen as well in the last slide. So, or yes, or sometimes user is viewing the data in the larger time bucket. Now the minimum time bucket for this our application is week. Now if I'm doing aggregation and I'm saying that okay, show me the aggregated data, aggregate the data for each 4-week period. So at that time it does the aggregation. And how it does the aggregation? This is the one example where the sum of all the child member is equal to the parent value. So the paint reliever is one of the category. So the corresponding brands or items are like notary, mandin, title and all these things. So the sum of all these members number is equal to parent value. Okay, now we have seen what is the aggregation, what is the proportion. Now this aggregation proportion, for that it uses some expressions. Right, so these are the expressions here. So there are two types of expression. The first one is server expression and the client expression. And this is the comparison table between these two. Okay, so as per the name, server expression, this expression will be executed on the database level. When the client expression, so this expression or this formula will be executed when user open that worksheet. So it is at the client level. So, and now as it is running on the database level, it uses the database table, database column. Whereas this expression is using another series. It only uses the series. Like if you are showing cost, okay, the cost or the value is equal to item cost multiplied by quantity. So that is a number. So what you can do, you can have a value as a client expression. So if the quantity gets changed, automatically the value gets changed. So it is at the client level. So it is at the UI level expressions. And now in the server expressions, we can use this kind of token. So what is meant by token? So this is like when I mention hash unit hash, what is mean by that? If I change my unit of measure, then accordingly my value gets changed. The best example is currency. So if I use USD, then the numbers will be different. If I use CAD, Canadian dollar, then the numbers will be different. So if you want to show the data as if you change your unit of measure, which includes currency or UOM, then you have to use this token in your expression. So multiplied by this token. So you have to use that. Okay, and now in both the case, you can use all these operators, plus, minus, multiplication, division. And okay, so when the client expression is not exist, or when the client expression is okay. So now, So one series might have the client expressions and the server expression. One series might have both. The which will be executed? It will execute first client expression, because that the expression which is near to the client or which will be executed when the user opens that worksheet. Okay. If the client expression is null, if there is only client expression, then it shows the data as per the server expression. Okay. You can have conditional client expressions. The conditional, when we open the worksheet now, I will show you all what is this expressions, what is the conditional client expressions and all. Okay. Now another major difference is the client expressions will be executed at the background level. So typically client expressions is executed only and only when you run the daemon 3 engine, or when you, typically that is the scenario. Okay, so now if you use the client expressions, then that value will be determined when you run the daemon 3 engine. Okay, now assume that one series is having a server expressions, and that server expression is executed when we run the daemon 3 engine, and we have run this engine. Now values are changed. Now user has updated some values, and now you are opening the worksheet and you see that okay, it's not numbers are not getting changed. The reason is that number will not be changed because it is having a server expressions, and that server expressions will be evaluated, recalculated only when we run the engine. So we have to make sure that which series have the client expression, which series have the server expression. So these are the kind of decision points. Okay, if the client expression is not able to determine some values, then it shows the server expressions data. For example, okay, so now, for example, this kind of situation might happen. Like sometimes the client expression won't able to give some values. So at that time, as a fail-safe, we can have server expression which shows 0, rather than something showing null value. And if we show the null value, that particular series is used in another series, then you will see the problem is getting cascaded. So rather than we can have, if we want to use only the client expression, the standard practice is let's have the series expression as a 0. If we keep that as a null, then again if that client expression, there's one series called A. That series is having a client expression and the server expressions. That A series is having only the client expressions. Okay, and now that client expression is a conditional. Like if another column, another series B is having a value more than 100, then show 100. So this is your client expression. But now that series is having a value 0. Then what should we do? Then if it is 0, then it will show null. And now that series is used in another client expression. Now that null value used by that another series, and it shows some error or some, you will see some problem while exporting the data. So rather than just to instead of cascading this problem, you can have the server expression as a 0, and then you can have the client expression saying that if the value is greater than 100, then show as a 100, and if it is less than, then it will be a null from the client expression, but the server expression says it's a 0. So the server expression, as it is using some server level columns, and so that's why it is not more user friendly. Whereas client expression, as it is using the meaningful name of that particular series, so it is more quite user friendly. You can easily determine what is happening in that expressions. Okay, so now these are the token which are used by the server expressions. So unit hash, this is one of the token used for conversion. It might be a monetary, it might be a physical unit in both the case. Okay, so these are the additional two. So the first one is for @version @engine profile hash. So what is meant by that? So as we have seen, forecast value is stored in various column. Like recent forecast will be in 40. Okay, then there is another the 1 month back forecast will be in the 41. 2 months back it will be 42. So that kind of values are stored. Now, if I want to do the comparison between the recent forecast, which is the 40, and I want to do the comparison with the 1 month back forecast, which is 41. How I can do that? So in that case, you can use this expression. Okay, so you can mention that for @version. So that version will be 0, 1, 2, 3. So if I want to see the forecast from 1, then I will mention number 1 @engine profile. So we might have a different engine profile. We can have there are, for example, we define one engine profile which is having 400 different parameters, and they are having it does the calculation by using one particular demand series. Like it uses the point of sale forecast, point of sale history. So the point of sale means when you actually sold that item. So that demand stream will be used by that engine and it determines the forecast. And that engine profile called A. Okay, another there is an engine which is having a different demand stream. It uses the booking history. So now when this order was booked, I'm not worried about shipped. I'm just worried about when this order was booked. And based on that book history, it determines the forecast. So that engine profile called B. So there are two engines now. So while running this Demantra engine, I'm having options whether I want to run an A engine or I want to run a B engine. So that option is already there. Okay. Now, on the same way, if I want to see the forecast which is generated based on the point of sale demand stream, then I should have some options. So that's why it is having this profile, engine profile. So this is the ID. Actually, this is the engine profile ID. So that ID. So the forecast generated by engine A, and also show me which was generated 1 month back. So if you want to show that kind of data, so this is the token. Okay, and then now you want to know when this forecast was generated. What is the forecast run rate or the engine run date? Then you can use this fdate -version. So if you mention the 1, then it will explain you, okay, this is the this forecast 1, that particular forecast was generated 1 month back, for example, somewhere in December or Jan. So this is for fdate. This will return a date and this will return the forecast quantity. Okay. If you don't mention the engine profile, then it will uses the base engine profile, and it will show you the forecast accordingly. So these are the tokens which are used only in the server expression. You cannot use the token in the client expression. Now this is now we have to create one series. We have to load the data. We have to import the data, and we have to see how it look like. And while doing that, we have to see all these series property. Okay, so now the first action is we have to alter a table. Okay, now again, Demantra advice from Oracle is you can use the seeded columns, but if you don't have options, then you can go for this altering this TMPL table. Even it's a staging table, but it's kind of a seeded table where the integration is tightly plugged. So that's the reason there is a risk, but still you can play around that. Okay, so assume that we are getting some data in this in this column. Okay, now that how to load the data? If it is Oracle, there are already plugins and programs are already there. If it is a non-Oracle, then we have to build something custom, or we have to ensure that we are getting the data from Excel file. Okay. The next thing is, now as this is a new, because in our demonstration we are going to create a new column. As this is a new column, we have to modify the data model. So whenever you want to change any integration strategy, you want to add a new column in integrations, we need to build a data model. So this is what you have seen in the level, and the same thing we are going to do in the series as well. Once you modify the data model, then it updates your EBS full download procedures and create some additional columns in base table, column and table. Once everything is done, then what we can do that we can fine tune this additional series properties. And then if you want to add, we can have the security feature. We can so we can enable that. So this is optional, and then we have to also make sure that we are having this integration integration process in place. Like if we are exporting the data from dMantra, then we have to modify that part as well. If we are importing the data, then we have to make sure that we are having that particular procedure to load the data in that custom column. So in and out, we have to see with respect to this series. So that is all about how to create a series. Let's start our demonstration. Now we are talking about creating a series in the sales data. Okay. Now, if you want to create the series in MDP matrix, then how that can be done? Because for MDP matrix, there is no TMPL table. Are you getting my point? Right? So now, how that can be done? The answer is, we have to alter directly base table of MDP matrix. And we have to make sure that our procedure is loading directly to the base table. So the dMantra is pretty, pretty flexible. Even if you alter the directly if you add one column into the base table, still there is an impact. Because the dMantra goes column by column, whereas Oracle goes row by row. If you add one column in, for example, in MTL parameters or MTL system items, then it's a data corruption. Because for all items, you have to load the values and etc. For dMantra, it goes the column by column, so that's the reason it will not have that much problem. Okay, so this is our, let's see, so let's decide our requirement. So let's assume that we have to load let's assume that we have to load item price. TSRC sales. Okay, so there is already one seeded column, but we will not use it. So if you see that seeded, yeah, here is the item price. This item price column is already there, so but we will not use it. We will create a new one. Okay, so this is item price. And this is a varchar. Why varchar? Okay. Now let's alter it. Now there, let's see. So where is this column? So this will be our last column. Yeah, so this we are having some values. Now we have to load some values in this table. So let's load some arbitrary value. Okay, select okay, so I'm getting some arbitrary random value. Okay, so I will mention update So in this sales data table, if your actual quantity, this column is null, so that means that is a forecast record. If this actual quantity is having some values, then it means it's a history record. Is nothing but is null. Then it's a forecast record. Yeah, so I don't have any forecast value here. So update this item price is equal to some random value. Yeah, I'm having a sales record of almost 36,000, so it's complete history only. Okay, so now data is there. So I got some values here. Now the first step is done. Now the next step is now we need to modify data model because we have defined this new column. This new column is there, but still Demantra don't know that this is the column, and then we have to pull the data from this table. So let's go to business modular. Data model, open data model. Okay. And rest of these, what is these values and everything, we'll have the next sessions on data model and business modular. We'll see that. Okay. Let's directly jump to this screen where we mentioned what are the columns in series are used. So now here I will say I will create a new sales series. So go extreme down. There is a create a new sales series, create a matrix series. So this is the sales series, and so this is a sales series which I'm pulling from sales data. Column will be XX price. What's the name? I will keep series title as the same. Aggregated. Okay, right now I will go ahead with a sum, but we can modify later. So I am saying that I want to aggregate the record, and I will use the sum function. So these are the additional functions which you can use. Like you can do the min max, weighted average, and all. So if you select a weighted average, then you have to mention a dependent field, like it's weighted average on based on what. So I will select a sum. Next, yes, modified. Okay, build a data model. Never do this. Build a new data model. Always use the existing data model. Upgrade existing data model, and let's do that. Now it is modifying the procedure and package and everything. Okay, so everything is compiled. Finish. Okay, so we have done with the second step. Now then the third step is we need to define some additional parameters. Okay, so let's go to configure series. Over x6 item price. So this is our series. Okay. Now next thing is, okay, you want to keep this series name. Okay, so now this series ID is for internal use. This is series name. Again, this is the internal name for defining the server expressions. And they show as a default in new query. We'll select yes. So new query means worksheet. So whenever we create a new worksheet, by default this series will be added. Then a period association, yes. So this is important. So now this, when you select history, then it means that this particular field is only available in history period. If you select current period and history, if we select the forecast, then this series only available in the current period and the future forecast. And if you select history and both, then this series is available across the horizon. And now I will say I will keep both. And now editable. This series is editable, yes, no. Okay, so now like sometimes you want to show the price, right? Now this is the sensitive data. We should not modify that, right? So now, so that's why you may take a call whether it's editable, not editable. So I will keep as it is. Now this is the hint message. So what is meant by hint message? Whenever you hover your cursor over that series, then it gives some additional information about the series. What is the purpose of it? Why this, that? So we can add that. So this. And this is again not used for demand management. This is aggregated by link level. Okay. Now go to display properties. Now how you want to display. So these are the things you can configure. Now you want to available this series only in the table or graph or at both the place. I will select both. So I want to use this series for graph as well as for table. Now the display properties, what should be the color? You can customize these things, like this is the price, then the color should be red, something like that. You can customize the color, and then we'll line the graph. In the graph, what should be the style of this particular graph? Sorry, these are the graph properties, not cell properties. Okay, so now in the graph, you want to see something red color, blue color, or anything. So I will select red. Then what type of graph I want? I will say dash line, dash and dot. So these are the way to see the data. While printing, how you want to print, etc. Symbol. So these are the options for related to the graph. Then now this is the display format. Okay, this is very important. Now this is a dollar value, right? So I want to, not a dollar value. Yes, this is a dollar value. I want to show with a dollar sign and with 2 decimal as a with the decimals. So now what I can do that, either I will select this 0.0, I can use that kind of, or hash. So it's a number. This dollar, do you see this number dollar? So it's a dollar. If it is a negative value, it will be in the bracket. Here is another one options where if it is negative, then it will show negative. So both options are there. So I will select, I want to use this kind of format. So if it is a date, if there is a percentage, then you can have a percentage here. Then if it is a date format, and all these are the hash represent number, some kind of number, it will be there. So dollar, some number, and if it is a negative, then it will be in bracket. And here if it is a percentage, if you see here percentage, so it's a 2 decimal percentage. So depending on the what type of format you will use, it will show there. Okay, in case of percentage, important thing is we have to load the data, like if it is a 10%, then you have to load the data as a 0.1. And if you load the data as a 0.1, then in the worksheet it will show 10%. Okay. If you use a 10, then on the worksheet it multiplied by 100, and then it shows the data, because there is a percentage sign. So by default it multiplies by 100. So you have to take a little bit precaution. Okay, I will use this format. Now the summary function. So in the table, in table at the bottom line will be a summary. So you want to show the summary? Yes, no. What you want to show the summary? Like if you want to show, like if you don't want to show the summary, select this option. If you want to show the summary, then these are the options. Like you want to show the total, average, number of the record count, mean, max, and etc. So I will say select total. On top of that, if you want to use some custom functions, then you can use a custom function as well. So the summary functions will be a custom here. So you have to define one expression like sum of these multiplied by these multiplied by some value from another one custom column, etc. Yeah. So these kind of expressions you can define. So here is when you click on double click, then this dialog box will open, and then you can define the custom function. Again, this custom function is a client expression. So this is not a server expression. So on the fly, the summary function will be executed when the worksheet is open, and then it will show the value. Advantage of this is like you don't want to show. Okay, you will come to know once you start using the demonstration why we have to go for this client expression. Okay, so now I will use the total, and now this is what is the width and what is the DP series width, what is the web series width. When you open the web application, then what should be the width, and when you open the worksheet, then what should be the width. So I will not enter anything, let it be default. Okay, now this is a very important thing, lookup properties. So when I say lookup, So if you recollect that we can have LOV for one series, right? So how to define LOV? So that LOV is defined from here. So when I select the list, then here this one dialog box will, this another options comes, and then in this list I will say, okay, when I say add, like if I select to one, then what is meant by that, it is approved. Okay, then add another two, rejected. So this kind of series, so the series will show the LOV, and in LOV you will see approved, reject. But in the database level, it will store values 1 and 2. It's like ID and corresponding code. So it's like a list that you will load, and then user will use this value. If user will select this value from the worksheet, if you load this value 1, 2 in this column, then accordingly it will decode that value and it will show approved, reject records. So this is way to see the create a list of value. There is another one option is called table. Now if you use a table, then it might be a custom table. You might be referring to some of your FND lookup from Oracle side. So in that case you can use this lookup. So all these tables are available. Okay. Now yes, so I don't want to use any drop down type here for my series. Then this is very important. Now here, what we are mentioning is, this is my sales data. We are pulling the data from the sales data table. So there are other tables as well. Like if it is MDP matrix, then we'll select MDP matrix. Then it becomes the combination series. Or these are the levels in the bracket data and the plan scenario SPF. All these are the levels. Okay, so if we are pulling the data from the level, then it becomes level series. So our is a cell series. What is the update field? What is the column name where we are storing the value? That is the item price. What is the data type? It's a number. Okay, update field based on the business. So this is not again used for TM. The branch is a synchronized field. Yes. So this is used when you want to when you want to cache your worksheet, cache your series. Then in that case, we have to use this sync field, synchronization field. Like if you are pulling the data, okay, so now you are storing the value in the sales data table, but you are pulling the data from MDP matrix. Pulling the data from MDP matrix but storing in the sales data. So in that case, we should have the primary key and the sync column. So that's the way we have to select it. Be frank, even I did not see this kind of requirement yet. But there is an option that we can refer to one table and insert it to another table. Now the next one is available for exception. So on the worksheet, we are having that exception. So this series is available for exception, yes, no. Then ignore the scale. So you can scale this value. On the worksheet, there is an option that you can scale the numbers. Like if it is a huge number, then you can divide that number by some particular factor. So that is a scaling. So you want to use that scaling? Yes, no. You want to apply that scaling? Yes, no. So that is the one. And the same value update. So what is meant by that? If you select this, then whatever the value is there in the worksheet, that will be stored in the database. Okay. So now even if it is not updated by you, so if the one particular cell is not updated, but still that value will be override. That value will be stored in the database. Otherwise, thumb rule is if you updated, then and then you have to save the value. Okay, so that is the one. Now this is a checkbox which explains whether this series is a proportional or non-proportional. Okay, our series is proportional. Okay, so whenever you select the proportional, then automatically it enables these below fields. Now if you're proportional, then you have to provide them additional information. So the proportional based on what? So the proportional, this series is proportional for the XX item price. It's a self proportion. I will tell you what is meant by that. So what is meant by that? Uh, Now we'll go through one example here. So now my this is a quantity. It might be forecast quantity or it might be a history. Okay, and then this is a price. Okay, now this is my item A, B, C, and D. So quantities. I will keep quantity as the same, so that you will come to know what. So only the variable factor is price. So it is 100, 200, 150, and 250. So now these are the. So this is our series. So this is our custom series. Now this is what is the sum? Sum equal to this much. So when I aggregate of this one particular category level like A, B, C, D, at this level it shows me this 700 quantity. Right? Now I made. Now I have to. I made now from the 700. I mentioned okay, let's make it 1000. I did some update. Now how it has to proportionate. So what I'm mentioning is so again. So now it will change these values. So this proportion, or rather I will use here. Okay. So now what I will mention that how to determine the proportion. So these divided by the total number multiplied by this new quantity. So this is my proportion. Okay. So for calculate Excel simplified calculation, I'm just mentioning this sum here. And new value is here. So what I will do that. So how to determine the proportion? Now what is the proportion here? Let's determine first proportion. Okay. So the proportion is 100 divided by 700. This is the proportion, right? And the sum of this will be 1. So this is the proportion. We have determined the proportion. Based on price. Now this is my proportion. There is another way to determine the proportion is proportion based on another series, on a quantity. So what I will do that, I will change some numbers here. Now how I will determine the proportion here based on the quantity? My proportion is 10 multiplied by I will add another one, 105. So the proportion based on the quantity is 10 divided by 105, my quantity, total quantity. So this is my proportion. Are you getting my point? Are you following? Huh? So there are the two proportions. I'm having, so I can use my price proportion. I can base the proportion based on the quantity. Now I am updating the price. Now I am making this price to 100 here, 1000. Now which proportion I have to use? I have to use the proportion based on the price or proportion based on the quantity. So for this proportion calculation, I am using this quantity series. For this proportion calculation, I am using the price series. So if I use this proportion, number will be different. If I use this proportion, number will be different. So it's the same way. In the day mantra, you have to mention what is your proportion series. So I'm mentioning that use the same column. So what it means that we'll use this column. So I'm updating the price. Okay, I'm updating this price and I am using this price proportion itself. Another option is you will updating the price, but you will use the quantity proportion, which I don't want to use. So there are the both options. So for the proportion, there are the three settings. Proportion, yes, no. Okay. Now these are the two fields. Now another one is aggregation. So how you now for aggregation? So this is the field. How you want to aggregate sum, or if you use a weighted average, then there is another one field called what is your weight. So if you see your weightage average formula, in the weightage average formula we provide the one weight. So that is the one way to calculate a weighted average. And now this operation, this option copy paste preservation type. This is again for promotion. Save the zero as a null. So if it is a zero, if you made one of the forecasts as a zero, then it will be saved as a null. You want to do that? So that is one option. And another, this option move the preservation type, again this is for promotions. So these are the important. So we need to keep a main focus on this proportion and aggregation, because that's the way it derives the data. Okay. Now by default, as I have selected sum, it has created these server expressions. Okay, which I am good with that. Okay, now there are server expressions, there is extra from where. What is meant by this extra from where? Okay, so whenever you want to define a server expression, you have to click on these dots. Okay, now there as well you will see the extra from and extra where. So what is the purpose? In the demantra, wherever you say extra from and extra where, so that it means that you can refer to some other custom table. So you can mention some custom table like XX item type or FND lookup from Oracle, and you can match this column. You can connect that column from FND lookup to this demantra column, and then you can have some kind of expressions. Okay, so this is the thing. So this is the extra from. In the from we'll mention the table, and in where we'll mention conditions. And what should be the column that we'll select? So that column is here already here. You have to mention that as an expression. So this is a select, this is a table, and this is a condition. And now if you want to use for expression, usually you should not directly go and type here. Okay. Okay, so you should not directly go and like segment one and all these things. You should not do that. The reason is, if the expression is invalid, your engine will fail, because this is a server expression. It will be executed when we are running a demantra engine. So just to avoid that, you have to select the values from here. So here is the function, then these are the columns, and these are the operators. You have to define the expressions from here. Like for example, I want to multiplied by, so I will select this, then multiplied by this column, like that. You can define these functions. Of course, you can directly go and edit that, but there is just for a fail safe, they have provided this bottom part. Okay, and then once you've done everything, make sure you verify it, and then so that means its expression is valid, and then you are good. Okay, and then now it comes to the client expressions. So in the client expression, again there is this dot dot. So select this, and here you will see some functions. So these functions are what do you call like average, days, maximum, minimum. So these are the functions. But in the series list, you will be able to select the series, not column. So these are the series name, and that's why this is more user friendly. Because you will come to know what is meant by this customer plan rather than XXPS1 or CS1. So in the same way, you will define the expressions, you will verify it. I will remove this, I don't want. And then press OK. Okay, so there are some additional expressions where edit log. So what is meant by that? So if the condition is true, If the condition is true, then why I'm not able to edit long. Yeah. So this is the edit log. So this what is meant by edit log. So now this expression was not editable. That's why it was not allowing me to do. So if the series is editable, then you can have edit log expressions. So whole series is editable, but in some cases this series is not editable. So you can mention a condition like if else condition. If the condition is true, then that particular cell will be locked. You are not able to edit that. And then the color expression, again the same. If the conditions are met, then use this color. Like if this week is greater than something 1, then color. So now I will select this color. Okay. So that color ID is something this. So automatically it will replace with this color. So you can have this kind of color expression, like if your forecast error is more than 50%, it's shown the red box. So this is the color expressions. Now the last part is the security. Now to whom this series is enabled, I will say this series is only enabled for DM. This series is not enabled for rest of other users. So this is the security. And then save. Let me see what expressions. Yeah. Yes, we are good. Now the series is modified. Now another one thing which I would like to explain you, that sometime rather than creating a new series, you can create a copy of that series. Like so now if you go with the item price, yeah, so this is a series, right? You can do create save as. You can have a save as, like create as. Like you can have another copy of this series, and then you just edit few things and then you are done. So this option is also there, and from here you can directly go directly to this tab. You can delete the series, and then you can sort by name, display order, etc. So yeah, so these are the some options, and if you click on this plus icon, then you will see these are the application where this series is enabled. Okay, if you see our series, now as we have saved, when we open this series, it was not at all enabled. Now this series is enabled to this demand management component. Now how this is done, or rather, like if you want to enable this series for another component, how that can be done? Then again you have to go to component, open and create component, open your existing component, and then go to series. So in the series, you will select that, okay, this is the series which I want to enable for this component. So right now my series is already enabled, so I'm good with that. But you can enable, if you are having sales and operations or PTP component, then you can enable that series to that component. Or if you want to disable one of the series, then you have to unselect from here. So this is the controlling at the component level. We have seen the controlling at the user level. Okay, now that's all about the series. Now the next thing is, now we have modified data model, we have changed lots of things. As I mentioned earlier, we have to bounce the web server. Now we are going to open collaborative workbench and see whether the series is shown there or not. Now go to filter and we have to enable that series for this worksheet. So series and all series. XX price. So I have added that. And then 4 weeks integration item XX time, or in this time I will go with the item as well, and then filters I will select XX item type is equal to only ATO. Just show me the ATO item. So what it does that I'm mentioning the filter that show me only ATO item and show me this kind of hierarchy in this member browser member hierarchy. And then so here is the scaling. So you want to scale so that if the series is scalable, then you can scale it. And if whenever you use unit token, and then if you change currency, like here it's CAD, USD. Now if there is a Canadian dollar, then automatically if that series is using that token, unit token in the client expressions or in the server expression, in the server expression, and then it does the calculation accordingly. Okay, we'll go to units. Okay. Where is our okay. We missed one step actually. We loaded the data in the TMPL, right? We have to run engine, not engine, workflow to move data from TMPL to base table. Let's run that. So we are running Mantra. Business full download. Start. Let's refresh. Yeah, load success. Log out. Then restart web server. Open collaborator web page. ATO, time series, aggregation. Yep. Where is our XX price? Here is our number. So if you see, we are having only one item, unfortunately, but it shows this dollar sign because we have selected that kind of format. And here we are having this summary function. Okay, that the summary we have for summary we have used the total of this column. If you use one of the client expressions like something this multiplied by this, then it does this multiplied by this, and it shows the value here. Okay, then let's try to see whether it's showing in the graph as well. layout, then table and graph. Okay, we have not enabled graph, so go to layout, advanced, show me graph. So this is our that particular price, this dot and this. So this is way, and then I was talking about right. So we will change some value here. So now this is the value. It is a 15,000. Hold on. Why it is 15,000? Okay, it's doing the aggregation. Okay. The reason is we have loaded for this time bucket. Okay, so there are 4 weeks, right? So it is doing aggregation, and then it is showing here. It already doing aggregation at this item level. Okay, if we use remove this time aggregation, let's remove that. Okay, now it is still it is doing aggregation. The reason is for this time bucket there might be multiple sales record. It's a 1 week time, right? And shipment might be happening on the daily basis. So that's why it is doing the aggregation. Okay, so I will make change here, something 4,000. Then save the data. Now we'll refresh this M2. We'll refresh and see whether that value is stored, and we can see that. So it's a M2 and this XA 4,000 something. Yeah, the value is stored, and I can see that I can retrieve again. So this is the way we have to play around this series, and the same way with this series I'm surely will be available for exceptions. Yeah, XX price. So if you select the series, show me the price value is not null. Is not null. So show me that this much only record. Then why? If you want to remove this empty rows, then here is the option view, hide empty row. Okay. So this is all about our series. And then now the prices came, then you can add another one series, which is a value. Now the value is equal to price multiplied by this baseline forecast quantity, or whatever, or this one of the your quantity column. You can determine that. You can play with the subtotal and etc. You can do rest of other things.